The meeting to order. It's 7:40 on Thursday, May 9th, 2024. And pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. This meeting will be recorded by pac-tv. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by viewing the Duxbury Government Access channels, Verizon 39 or Comcast 9. Viewers can visit at www.pactv.org/Duxbury for info about Duxbury programming, including streaming and watching replays on Duxbury YouTube. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is ZBA case number 2024-12, Camilla Wilson Hammer at 1 Abrams Hill. The applicant proposes to construct a residential pier and a special permit is required. Unfortunately, we do not have a quorum for that particular case. So although it is on first, if you would like to wait to see if we get another member here. I believe Chairman Dennison is supposed to be here, but we haven't heard from him yet. Alternatively, we can schedule it for another night.
I'm Kevin Bell, I represent Camille. I'll wait a little bit to see if he shows up.
Okay.
We'll wait.
Oh yeah, sorry. If you could go to the microphone, please, so the folks at home can hear you.
My name is Kevin Dahl, and I'm here to represent Camilla Hammer. Happy to wait a little bit for Wayne, and if not, we'll reschedule for 2 weeks.
Okay, that sounds good.
Which would still put you at 4. All right?
Why?
1, 2, 3, 4.
What about Judy?
We won't have Judy or Phil at all.
No, I'm saying tonight, if he sticks around for a little bit,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
it's only going to have
Right,
4.
oh, right,
It's only
yeah.
going to have 4 people.
Okay.
You need all 4. You know
And you're
that,
okay
right?
with 4 as opposed to, you'd have to have a unanimous vote as opposed to if you had
So
5.
1 no vote.
I guess we should wait until 2 weeks.
That's up to you
Um,
and our schedule. I don't know what,
there still will only be 4 people then.
oh, really? Because we don't have,
Because Freeman can't sit on that case.
Right.
And Judy
not
and
around?
Phil are both not available.
oh, we already know that. Okay. What about the following?
Phil should be back by
He's out
June
for the next
13th.
2. This
We
guy.
still won't have
So
Judy.
it's Judy.
So Phil would be back June
If,
15th.
if they want to go on May 23rd with 4 people, they could still always continue
Okay.
and have another board member do them all an affidavit and if
Okay.
they're not feeling comfortable.
Okay, so the option is to either wait tonight and you could possibly have 4 people, or we could continue till May 22nd?
23rd.
23rd, sorry, in which case you will still only have 4 people based on the schedules of the board members. Or, and if there are more that day, we could continue it, or if you prefer that, we could continue to the following date.
I'll hang around for a little bit and wait.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Sorry. Okay, so we will proceed to the next case and open that up. ZBA case number 2024-13, Matthew D. Killeen and Whiteley II Trust and Jennifer Berg, trustee, 7 Spring Street. The applicant proposes to construct a residential pier. A special permit is required.
We'll ask him. How do you feel, Paul? You're in the same boat.
Let's proceed, please.
Okay,
it.
you got it.
Actually,
All right.
it's a better boat. There are 4.
I'm just going to read the notice here. Okay, the Board of Appeals will hold public hearing in Mural Room 878 Twenty Street, and via Zoom on Thursday, May 9th, 2024 at 7:30 PM to consider the application of Matthew D. Colleen, Whately II Trust, Jennifer Berg, beneficiary for a special permit under Articles 400 and 900, Sections 402, 404, 404.6, 404.7, 404.8, 404.20, 410, and 96.2 of the Duxbury Protective Bylaw. The property is located at 7 Spring Street, parcel number 127-802-101 of the Duxbury Assessor's Map, consisting of 1.35 acres in the Residential Compatibility District, RC, Flood Hazard Area Overlay District, the FHAOD, and the Wetlands Protection Overlay District, WPOD, and owned by Matthew D. Colleen, Whately II Trust, Jennifer Berg, beneficiary. The applicant proposes to construct a residential pier. A special permit is required. The application may be viewed on the town's website under the Zoning Board of Appeals page. Okay. All right. So I believe that's all I need to announce, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So with the application, we have the application dated March 28th, 2024. We have the Mass DEP order of conditions included with the application. Let's see. We have a pier plan prepared by Seacoast Engineering Company. We have a memo from the Conservation Commission dated April 5th, 2024, which states from Nancy Rufo, the Conservation Administrator, I reviewed the application and plans for the above noted project and determined it falls under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. The applicant filed a notice of intent on January 11th, 2024, and received order of conditions on March 19th, 2024 under DEP file number SE 18-2076. The orders are included with the ZBA application. No further action is needed with this office at this time. Thank you, and please contact me if you have questions. We have a memo from the health agent, Tracy Mayo. Board of Health has no comments on the proposed pier. From the Planning Board Chair, Scott Casagrande, a memorandum stating, at the meeting of the Planning Board on April 22nd, 2024, the board voted unanimously 5-0 to defer judgment on the special permit application to the Zoning Board of Appeals with no further comments. From the Design Review Board, they state that their board has reviewed in person the most current plans of the proposed pier on April 24th. Paul Brogno was in attendance. In this case, the petitioner seeks a special permit to install a timber pier that will be approximately 135 feet long. There will be a 25-foot aluminum gangway and a 10-foot by 20-foot float. A stair for crossover access is proposed along the beach. The gangway and float will be removed off-season. The Design Review Board has no objections to the proposed pier. Let's see, we have a memo from, this is an email from Soren Jensen.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So Mr. Jensen submitted a letter and then requested to retract it.
Oh,
So
okay.
they are here this evening, I think, that would like to speak in person when it's open to the public.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you. Okay, and this is got it. All right, and that's all that we have in the record, so if the applicants
Conservation Order of Conditions.
Oh, yeah, I think I mentioned the Mass DEP's order of conditions. Yeah, as part of the application itself is in there. Yep, you're all set. Oh, I'm sorry, of course. Yep.
Well, that doesn't amplify in here, that's only for the television.
I will speak louder, though.
So she's gotta yell louder, that's all.
I'm too old, I've been biting my ear.
Right.
I'll speak up. I apologize.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, I'm Paul Brogner with Seacoast Engineering in Duxbury, engineer for Wheatley 2 Trust, Jennifer and Eric Berg and their family, owners of the property at 7 Spring Street. We're here before you this evening for the next permitting in the process of the family getting a Chapter 91 waterways license from the Commonwealth. We're here this evening to discuss the special permit application for the wooden pier that you see before you on the plan that we have filed for. And in the process here, we have already received the approval of the Duxbury Conservation Commission. We have filed concurrently with the Army Corps of Engineers and the State Environmental Protection Office in Lakeville. Both agencies have reviewed it, the state and the federal people, and we're coming down to the final couple weeks of their review and ultimate their decision over the next few weeks to a month or so. So as we have done a few times before in the past, the process that we follow here with the zoning board is to discuss the articles and conditions that are required to be met and complied with to obtain a special permit for the pier. So let me just drop off a couple of photos for everybody. Lauren, do you have any photos up on the board that Boris can see? Yeah, extra separate, obviously, he's zooming.
Thank you.
Did you send them to me? I don't have anything.
Were they with the application when we filed it electronically? If they weren't, then I have colored ones. I mean, everybody has colored ones except for Boris, so.
Yeah, Paul, you can hand mine to the rest of the crowd if you want.
Okay, let me just give you a brief description of the site. It's 58,760 plus or minus square feet. Can you go scroll it up, Lauren, please? There we go. Obviously, the house is here as we have it on the plan. Well, let me just get my other copy. Okay, for the record, the house at 7 Spring Street is right here. Spring Street is obviously to the left on the landward side of everything. As I said, it's 58,760 plus or minus square feet. Has 116 feet of frontage, so it's a non-conforming lot, even though it has 40,000 square feet. What we're proposing is to construct a wooden walkway 4 feet in width by 127 feet in length from the beginning where the stairs come down to the end of the walkway itself, and then we expand another 8 feet, 6 feet in width for the 6 foot by 8 foot platform. So the total length is on the application is 135 feet from beginning to end. At the end of the structure, we then have the seasonal 3-foot by 25-foot aluminum gangway and the 10-foot by 20-foot wooden float. We also have, in accordance with everybody's requirements, the state and the federal organizations, a set of crossover stairs across from one side of the coastal beach to the other, which is basically needed if we don't have 5 feet of clearance under the structure at the mean high water line. We're required to provide access for the public to walk across. So at low tide, everybody can walk across on the south side, and at the high tide or half tide, everybody can walk across either underneath the pier or across the crossover stairs. So the minimum clearance is 4.8 feet at the beginning, and obviously you go out 10 or 20 feet, you got 5 to 6 feet. I know there have been some questions. The last 10 or 20 feet, we do have 10 feet above the salt marsh for the walkway itself. Again, that's in accordance with the town bylaws and the requirements of the State Environmental Protection Office and the Army Corps. Okay, so that's basically the structure. When you look at John Reed's pier, it's way more than 200 feet to the southwest to look at his pier off of Allen's Lane and Goose Point. And then we have the other pier more than 200 feet away towards the east side. So we have more than sufficient distance between them, and obviously nothing else can be constructed in this area because this lot is a standalone lot with the cellar hole for the town to the west side itself. Okay.
Mr. Braga,
Yes, ma'am.
I think one of the members has a question.
No, I really don't, Paul.
Oh,
I was just waving.
you were just waving. Okay,
Oh, okay.
never mind.
All right. So when we come to the zoning requirements, Articles 400 and 900,
I have a question.
Okay, well, let him finish and then,
procedurally, I give my presentation, they ask questions, and then third, it's open to the public. Okay? So you'll have more than ample opportunity. Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, so we deal with Article 400, Section 402, and that's basically we're in a flood hazard district, so the special permit for the pier is required, and we have to design it above the 100-year flood zone. The FEMA flood zone here is at elevation 13, and our pier elevation based on the mean low water datum is at 15.2, 15.3, and you'll see it at 10.3 on the plan because it's a different datum, NAVD 88 for the engineers. Okay? Article 400, Section 404, we're in the Wetlands Protection Overlay District. We also have the uses permitted by our zoning bylaw requires this as an accessory structure. The main structure for the house is on the same lot, and that's one of the requirements that we have to demonstrate exists. We also have Article in Section 404.7, the goals of the special permit is to assure through the zoning board and the applicant that the proposed work is consistent with what's in the area and a reasonable use of the property. So obviously, in a waterfront location, a residential pier, as long as you meet the state, federal, and town requirements, comply with those regulations and performance standards from the Conservation Commission as well. The next item, and probably one of the more important items, is Section 404.20.20, and that's basically the design parameters for the pier. And for most of you that live on the Standish Shore area, and most of us in other areas of town, most of the piers you see out there are 4 feet in width. There are a few of them that are 3.5 to 3 feet in width, but from an economic and efficiency viewpoint, the 4-foot wide pier is the most efficient as far as timber availability is concerned and function to make it functional and safe basically for 7 or 8 months out of the year. It also allows the regulators, they don't allow anything more than 4 feet in width, so we usually, again, design them for 4 feet in width unless there's some other extenuating or limitations that we're required to deviate from. As I said, the pier is 135 feet in length total, less than the 200-foot maximum provided by the town. It does have the standard 6-foot by 8-foot platform at the end. The into the pier at the end of the platform, extends 2 feet beyond the end of the salt marsh to allow us to construct the 4 piles at the end with the 2 spur piles. And again, that's in accordance with this section of the bylaw. We'll have 2 handrails, both one on the left side, obviously, one on the right, 3 feet in height, and basically a 4x4 post with 2-by material for the mid-rail and the top rail itself. We also have at least 50 feet from the mile standard cellar hole to the pier, so it meets that requirement. Also, the 200 square feet for the float is the 10 by 20 foot float, which is the standard design, and that's what we have incorporated here. And equally as important is we have the 3 foot by 25 foot aluminum gangway, and being 3 feet in width basically allows us to store that aluminum gangway right down the middle of the float structure and the walkway in the wintertime. So you'll see many of the newer generation piers in town where that float is taken away in the wintertime, but the gangway is just stored inside, either from Bayside Marine or Long Point Marine. Okay, last item here is, last item under section 900 of the bylaw, section 906.2, is that we basically demonstrate and design that the benefits to the town of this residential pier will outweigh any adverse effects for the town or in the vicinity for the structure. Obviously, it's designed in accordance with the town, the state, and the federal requirements. We have obtained the approval from the Conservation Commission in town, and I'll say within the last 2 or 3 years, we've designed and built a couple other new piers in the Standish Shore area of town to go along with other areas of the town, basically from the south side on the Kingston Bay side where we are tonight to basically down through Duxbury Bay and up through King Caesar Road and Powder Point on the Marshfield side. So in essence, the section 906.2, we have designed this. It's suitable for the property. It meets the normal requirements. It's consistent with the zoning bylaws I said a couple times before. But you know, equally as important, and it's not really a zoning item, but it may come up shortly, is by obtaining the order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, we have demonstrated that this design and the sizing of the material, the location of the pier, working in the resource areas, primarily the tidal flat and the salt marsh, and the coastal beach, meet the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act, Section 131, Section 40, and equally as important is the Duxbury Wetland Regulation, which controls us meeting the performance standards that they have adopted and have had in writing for many, many years. So I think at this point we feel as if our design is a viable one. We've proceeded down, 50% of the permitting right now, and things seem to be, working through the system very effectively and efficiently at this point in time. So I'd be more than happy to address any questions from the zoning board and/or the public if need be. Thank you.
I'll make a few comments. First of all, Paul, I'm getting 200.14 feet of frontage on this street, not 116.
What's on the plan?
If you add up the 3 sections, comes up to just over 200.
118 plus 70. Yep, you're right. I'm sorry.
You said it was 116.
It's on the plan, I believe, right, for the 200?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of having a hard time picking out the edge of the salt marsh on the plan. Is it the solid line that runs all the way across, maybe?
No. Maybe, yeah.
The coastal beach takes you from the bottom of the armored wall to the solid line, correct?
And then,
And the arrows on the salt marsh show you to that extent.
okay, I think either
didn't come up well.
either the line ought to be labeled or the arrows go to the line.
Yep.
And I would guess the one that's just short of the end of the pier is the limits seaward.
Salt marsh is shown here, so it's the solid line in here for the beginning
Okay.
of the salt marsh, and the end of the salt marsh is this solid
Goes
line
through
in here.
there.
Correct. So we got 2 feet beyond the salt marsh to the end of the platform.
Okay,
Okay. And then you got, because of the uniquenesses of this lot, you got 4 or 5 water pools that we wanted to show just to create to
Okay.
the commission that, you know, it's detailed enough to show everything in its resource area configuration.
okay.
All right.
So maybe you should put that line in your
Yeah.
legend next time or
Yep.
something.
Then you got the, obviously, the dash line in here for mean high water.
6'4",
4.2.
no, I'm looking at the
431.
contour,
Oh,
6'4",
Four's right here.
yep. Which ones are these? Oh, that must be mean high water, so
Yep,
that's 4.
exactly. Going down this way.
2, 0,
Yep.
okay,
And you got a -2 out here as well.
okay. I think Paul made a good point that where conservation has approved it, that the environmental concerns have been addressed by them. So we just have to be concerned primarily about the zoning bylaws, I guess. And I think Paul mentioned just about every one. I don't think he indicated whether or not it was in a scenic overlay district, though.
Definitely not, no, it's not applicable here.
And what is the setback from a public landing? I would think the
50.
saw the whole 50 feet?
50, yep, we're well over 100.
And would you consider the Alden property there part of a public landing, maybe?
Sure, I'm a taxpayer, and it makes, if it's defined as a landing or a way to the water, we meet the 50 feet either way.
But you're twice the required distance away from that.
Correct.
You said the required height is above the flood elevation, which is 13. So could you lower it some? Could you safely lower it some without it getting taken away by the ice?
Keep in mind, other projects that we've been before the commission for, the state and the federal government require us to be at least 4 feet above the salt marsh, or at least a 1-to-1 ratio of the width of the pier to the distance between the pier and the salt marsh. So
Aren't
if
there
it's a
some
4
approving authorities that would rather have a 1.5 to 1? But that would raise it up.
Yeah, so in other words, we in Duxbury follow the 1-to-1 requirement. But now, years ago, it used to be a 1-to-1 average, so you could average out 2 feet of clearance here and 6 feet of clearance over there and average it out to be 4. That's not a play anymore. They did away with that about 10 or 12 years ago. And then 5 to 8 years ago, they further restricted it and said they want the 1-to-1 ratio to be applicable from the bottom structural stringer of the walkway, which is about a 3 by 8, so it's about 8 inches or so more than the 4 foot. So the 1-to-1, the 4 feet above the salt marsh is now 4.8 feet at the beginning.
And you're at 5. Is that what
We
this
go up
says?
an extra tenth or two just to give us a little bit of flexibility with sea level rise and those sort of things, because the bylaw also says in Duxbury that we can only go to the highest height of the walkway based on all the regulations from other agencies, i.e. the state and the federal government.
So you really can't lower it but a couple inches or something.
The only way to lower it is to make it parallel with the salt marsh. And it's not going to look good. It's not going to wear well. There's one in town that I was involved indirectly with about 25 years ago on River Lane, off of Washington Street, coming down the hill from Fort Hill. Take a look at that, and quite frankly, it doesn't look pretty. But this is the way this one was designed back in the late 90s, early 2000, and the one that's level all the way from beginning to end is what you see around town today. And obviously, aesthetically it works, functionally it works, and if we're 10 feet above at the far end, it's not the highest one in town, to be honest with you. Okay?
Okay.
And obviously with the velocity zone, and I think everybody, including the residents here, know when we get the northeasters and the southeasters, this area is wide open, okay? You got the nor'easters coming across the southern tip of Standish Shore, then we got the southeasters coming right across Kingston Bay, right flush into the Spring Street area. So we make it as robust as we can, but we still have to balance out our design requirements with, again, all the regulations and bylaws that the state, the federal, and the town organizations require.
Sounds to me as though you've covered all the bases, Paul.
Yes, sir.
I have one, Paul. This one seems to be a lot shorter than the one to the south of it. The
Reed Pier?
Reed Pier, right?
Down Reed,
This seems
yeah.
a lot shorter.
How
Correct.
long is that one, do you know?
In all honesty, I'd be guessing. I don't know.
I went down there today and it looked a lot longer, like almost twice or something.
Okay, yeah, but again, about 15, 18 years ago, we cut
could.
it off 2 feet beyond the end of the sawmill.
Right.
That's it, period. So the aids to navigation, when Donnie Beers was the harbor master, he coordinated on it, and obviously for 8 months out of the year, from October to May, when the float and gangway are gone, you know, you just see the end of the pier there, and it's wide open for navigation and everything else, so. Thank you.
I'm good.
Any other questions?
I don't, I'm good.
Boris, do you have any questions? Is he still there?
Can you see him?
Sorry, I do have a question. I had a little technical difficulty with my phone. If I could?
Yes, please.
Yes, sorry. I know there's, this is a challenging area to get in and build on. How are you gonna get in to the property, off of Spring Street or Mayflower Ave? The only reason why I ask is an issue came up with Priscilla recently, Priscilla Ave, where construction may block the road. I know with public access into Miles Standish Reservation there, it's pretty tight there. I know they have access off that road onto that property, but how would where would the construction enter into the property?
Thank you, Boris, for the question. The 3 contractors that usually build these residential piers, South Shore Pile Driving from Marshfield, Anchor Marine from Chatham and Orleans, and Vlaco out of Middleborough, they have their barges, they have their heavy equipment, and we have done it before. We will basically load it up on a barge. We've used Howland's Landing before. We could ship it across from North Plymouth across Kingston Bay to this site, or we could come out through, just trying to think, when we built the one for Eric Pontiff at 184 Marshall Street last summer, I don't recall where Anchor Marine delivered everything from, but everything was barged in, and it worked, okay? They were working on another similar structure at Clark's Island, and it worked very easily and smoothly last July and August timeframe. So we can't tell them how to do the job, means and methods and everything, but if it's a matter of mobilization and they have to come a couple miles each way, it's not unusual for these sort of projects. Obviously, they went across to Clark's Island from Mattakesa Court all last summer for the other one there on the island. So it does work, and it's their responsibility to do it.
So we can count on them not creating too much congestion at the Standish property?
Other than the guys driving to the site and parking the cars on the Half Moon driveway, I think everything else is going to be hand delivered, just because they may, they may walk a couple things down the stairs, but obviously it's going to be the minor tools, the small items, not the piles or the stringers or anything. It can't be done any other way.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
I'm all set.
Nope. So,
Just for one comment, I kind of measured the pier at the Reed property from GIS, which we know isn't 100% accurate, but it was about 165 feet,
Oh, okay.
Really?
just to let you know.
I think he tried to go out to mean low water when he built it.
I mean, the zoning bylaw allows 200.
Right.
Well, not at the time.
No, right.
When he built that, he tried to go.
We
mean
have
low
we have
water.
400 footers out there.
Do we really?
500s.
Yeah.
519 and 539 on Standish Street.
If you forget your key and you have to walk home, you're not going out. in the
Yeah,
morning.
that's it. Just hang out.
Anyone in the audience have any comments? If you do, or questions, please use the microphone. If you could please use the microphone. Thank you.
Introduce yourself and where you live.
My name is Swan Jensen. I've been living 40 years down in Standish Shore and follow all the development about what's going on about regarding piers. Obviously, I know the old pier that Mr. Dan Hawkins built many, many years ago, which is now degrading and so forth. Then also the pier that was built maybe 10, 15 years ago with, at that time, Mr. Sliker. Now it's owned by Mr. Reed. It looks to be the same length, about 100 feet. What I'm concerned about is the marsh. After the new pier, I call it Mr. Reed's Pier, was built so many years ago, all the marsh has disappeared. When we came there 40 years ago, there was marsh all the way around the Standish Shore peak. 50% of that is now disappeared, and in front of the cellar hole, it's all fragmented. The only place where there's not something left up here is exactly where the new pier is proposed to go. So my concern is that you start digging new holes in there, which are 10 inches diameter, and you plug it into an 100-year-old marsh, which is now basically disappeared. Isn't that going to increase the corrosion of that whole area? That's a big concern. And I know this gentleman was also talking about before that can you lower it? Well, I guess you could, but according to Paul, he says that that's not recommendable. But on the other hand, when you raise it up to 10 feet at the end, then the whole view of the whole Clark's Island, the inlet and everything disappears.
From
Because
where?
From where you're standing down there, looking out on Miles Standish. When you stand down there on the beach and looking out towards Clark's Island, Sequis, the inlet, which is in straight line from Duxbury, Standish Shore, it's going to obstruct the view. So I don't know if anything like that was coming into the picture about obstructing views when you put in a tall pier like that. I mean, 10 feet plus 3 feet of railing, that's pretty high. It's almost like you're putting in a whole Eiffel Tower in the middle of Standish Shore. So those are some of my concerns, which I've been in writing to you people. And because also now I'm talking to the phone here, or to Mike. Living in Duxbury so many years, you also see that around town there are different kind of piers. They're mostly piers in Bluefish River, Eagle's Nest, where there's mud, rocks, or something that you have to go over to get out to a float. And they're also out in Back River or Bluefish River, I think I mentioned that. But here, it's totally accessible to go to all the tide flats without stepping over any kind of marsh at all. We've been doing this for years. So the concern is that I think there should be two types of piers. One type of piers when you really don't need it, and then the other type of piers when you go into like Eagle's Nest and maybe on the tip of Eagle's Nest Pier or Bluefish River on some of these places where you have some mud flats or some other stuff where you have to go over. But here, you don't need it. I don't see, you can only use the pier like half of the time of the year anyway, because when it's high tide, right? And then there's the pier that Mr. Reed put in many years that's hardly ever used. It sits there empty every day, and you could put your boat out at And now I'm talking about something else, which is also that there are about 50, maybe 100 boats moored every year out of Standish Shore. All those boats are sitting on moorings. And to have a pier for every waterfront property, I would say it's ridiculous because they don't need it. They can just walk out the flats to the boats. And they can only take the boats into the pier maybe a few times a year. So why don't they make two rules for making pier designs in the town? One which you have easy access to a boat on a mooring, and piers where you have to step over mud flats or other rocks and stuff like that. So now all of a sudden, us who's been living down there for 40 years, we have to step over a pier, although you have to step over 4 feet, whatever Paul said, so you can get from one side to the other. I mean, Mr. Weed's pier right now, they also had steps in the beginning, but they washed away pretty quick because as soon as you have a storm, they're not there anymore. And we walk there the whole year, not just in the summertime. And Mr. Weed is not mostly there in the wintertime anyway, which also happens to a lot of other people. I think actually the people who's going to build the pier, they're not there in Duxbury in the wintertime. But that's what we who live there wants to walk freely in this beautiful nature down there. So this little presentation here became a little longer than I anticipated, but I've written it down. I would like to give it a copy to you again, and you can read it. And I actually submitted initially with some comments to
Right,
Ron up there.
and we got those.
Yeah.
I read them
I
all.
kind of retracted because I thought I had to put it in by the 9th, so it became a little quick. Now I have written another one which I'm happy to present to you, and especially the one that the town in 1975 had a planning meeting about how many, what do you call it, access landings you can put in town, and there are about 5 of them. All the streets going down from Marshall Street have a landing permit, so people can walk freely out to the water. And that was, to make sure there's accessibility to people to this beautiful bay, and not obstruction by any kind of manual-made obstructions. Because I don't know if the applicant is here. I know Paul is the applicant, but the people who wants it, why do they really need a pier? I mean, I can't answer that question.
No.
Only.
Why do they need 14,000 square foot homes? None of us can answer that.
No, you're absolutely right.
I think it's more a question of they want a pier.
So, that was my little comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I'm trying to decipher most of your comments. It sounded like one of your concerns is the stairs that cross over the pier. You're indicating that they go away in storms?
What was the question again?
The stairs that cross,
You said reeds washed away.
yeah, you said reeds washed away. Is that one of your concerns, that you're afraid these stairs will wash away and you won't be able to walk across?
Well, the step over is washed away. Mr. Weed's step over washed away many times.
Okay.
It's not there anymore. But we could walk under the most of the time when the
Okay.
tide is low. But I mean, it's still an obstruction. It sits there. I don't know why it was approved at that time to come in there anyway.
Could you clarify, is the Reed property then on the other side of the town property?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, so the view, I'm concerned about the view issue, that you're saying that you can't see Clark's Island from.
Well, obviously, it depends if you go down in these.
No, I appreciate that because
That's from the beach, though. That's
It's
not.
on the beach when you're standing down there.
Yeah, on the beach.
That's- We walk on the beach. Everybody walks down on the beach.
But when you get to the other side of the pier, you'll have a
A full
view,
view, a
except
full
for-
view.
Go up over the pier?
You have to go to the other side.
Why can't they start?
Another little trick that Mr. Reed at that time when the pier
I
was
was there,
built
you can see that.
was that there are steel wires as the guardrails.
mighty difficult.
But I mean, that doesn't obstruct the view as much as boards,
Oh, you like that? That's cable.
cables, yeah.
Pipe and cables, like if they're on the
Stainless steel cables.
scenic overlay district?
Instead of just rails. You ever heard about that, Paul?
Worked on a couple of things, and
That's probably a little more expensive, right?
you know the business, correct?
You know what?
Would that alleviate something? If they went with the lower profile railing system?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you already explained some of that lower profile going over the marsh. That's going to be, I don't know why that would do anything. I would rather not have any piers at all.
Right.
The rails is one thing, yeah, that's a piers.
Suppose your customer would mind doing that, Paul?
Yeah.
You suppose your customer would object to putting in the pipe and cable rail
Like
system?
McCarthy did at 2 King Caesar? The pipe, powder coated.
We will consider it. I haven't talked to Mr. Bird about it, sure.
Right, right.
Do you, yeah, all right.
I mean, I would, again, suggest it to him, sure.
So,
Seems easier to maintain because they don't twist
Less
and
maintenance,
stuff,
sure.
yeah.
And it's the invisible look when you're looking at it transversely.
McCarthy hasn't touched his in 15 years. Still powder coated and beautiful.
Anyway, get a hold of them so we can wrap this up tonight?
He's on
or-
a plane right now.
Huh?
8 o'clock takeoff from Lumen. I talked to him at length at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Well, I really don't think that it's in our purview to require it if they're not in a scenic overlay district, but I think if they consider it, that would be a good thing.
Right. I think they'd like it
Got some
anyway
more?
better.
Yeah,
It's a lot smoother.
but I can't imagine there's that many people that, if you're on the beach, I would think you could see under it. If you're on the Standish property, you could see over it. Because you're up at 35.
Does anybody else want to speak?
Oh, Kevin just hit the road.
So I'm Mark Roberts. I live at 1 Beach Plum Lane. I'm a year-round resident. I have 2 small children, 8 and 6, that go to Bay Farm Montessori. So our neighborhood has a ton of children in it. And unlike a lot of neighborhoods, down further, down Marshall Street, it's really not the same. Our neighborhood is full of kids, lots and lots of kids. That Miles Standish, the little park there, is a public park, and you can get, and it's one of the few public beaches, actually. Everyone else has a private beach, and as you know, there are lots of signs that say private beach, private beach. So this is one of the few actually little public beach areas. So there's a little park, kids play in the park, they go down, and people can go down on that little beach there, little stretch that goes up right next. It ends right next to this property that these other people own there, where they're going to build this pier. So I'm a little concerned about safety issues for children. People are going to have to climb, and I did this the other day. I went down, way down Marshall Street. There's a new pier. Well, I don't think it's a new pier, but it's been a renovated pier, and there are new stairs, built up, and it's quite high. And you go up, and you can walk all the way out, and you can fall off the pier if you like, very, very easily. So there's lots of kids in our neighborhood running around, and they're going to go up. They're going to go up those stairs. They're going to walk out that pier. They're going to fall. I worry they fall 10 feet over. In the wintertime, those stairs aren't going to be nice to climb, even for me. I really don't want to be climbing up over those stairs in the wintertime. They're going to be icy. They're going to be dangerous. What kind of liability insurance do these people carry in the event that somebody falls off their pier? That's a question. Is there any kind of requirement for that?
Not from us.
Not from our
Not in
board.
our bylaws, no. But I will point out one thing, climbing up and over is one thing, but traversing a private pier is is another thing. That's trespassing. So if you're trespassing and you fall off,
Yeah, well, if you're 8 years old.
caveat emptor, right?
I haven't seen a sign up there. I haven't seen any signs on any of these piers. I crossed a couple the other day, and there aren't any signs that say, if you're 8 years old and you trespass here, we're not liable.
Right.
For your,
Right.
if you fall off the pier.
But hopefully parents will tell their children you can't go crawling out.
The kids our neighborhood is very, very safe, as you know. It's very safe, and kids run around there. It's a dead end. You can't, there's no place to park. You can't park there. It's a very, it's a very safe area, and the kids run free, which is very nice. It's very unusual. So we have one little stretch of public beach, there, that a lot of people go to because there's nowhere else for them to go. Everyone else has a private beach. We cross it, we walk it all the time, but I have even experienced people on those beaches trying to throw people off their beach because they claim it's a private beach, So anyway, and as you know, no one goes down past John Reed's place because there's cameras on the beach and there's big signs, private beach, you can't be here. So it's not trafficked in the same way as this stretch of beach is.
Right.
So for old people, for children, for the public, this is a highly trafficked area. I think it's dangerous. I think it's an obstruction. The people don't even live there year-round. They can walk out to their boat, as Soren was saying. There's no need for that pier. The boats are going to be sitting in the mud, as you know, for most of the day. That flat is wonderful. When it's low tide, you can walk over to Plymouth practically. I'm sure you've done it, probably. So anyway, this is a totally inappropriate pier from every standpoint. From a safety standpoint, from a aesthetic standpoint, from a neighborhood standpoint, it won't be welcome in the neighborhood. I think it's unsafe, and I think it's unnecessary, and I think it should not be approved.
I think you made some very good points.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
And
Yep,
I think we should probably suggest to the homeowner that they gate off the pier in the wintertime when it's icy, so little kids can't run out.
You're going to cross it no matter what.
Yeah, they have to be able to do that.
You're going to climb no matter what.
Yep.
I'm going to have to climb. 10 years from now, I may have trouble getting up those stairs. It won't be.
If you can walk all the way out to Plymouth, then you can walk under the pier where it's high enough and don't have to go over the stairs.
Not on high tide.
That's true. But you can't get by the Standish Shore property at high tide, can you?
You can't walk it at high tide
No.
anywhere.
Mean high water comes right up to the rocks.
The tide goes in and out, as you know, so there are certain times of day when it's not.
There is no beach.
Totally low tide, it's
High
not
tide.
totally high tide. You can cross there, there's an hour, there's an hour and a half either side of the high tide.
But I think at mean high water, there's 5 feet of clearance, so if the tide has to go out a little bit, then you'll have 6 feet underneath the pier, and you can certainly walk under it.
Not if it's covering the beach.
What?
Correct.
You walk under it, you can't walk, you're saying we have to go up the stairs.
Yeah, you
Why
could,
can't it just start at the eelgrass instead of coming across the beach?
then they won't be able to use it at high tide without wading through the water.
Well, the tide comes into the eelgrass, only if we're having a storm or a nor'easter does it come up to the rock.
Today it covered the rocks.
Yep.
Definitely.
It's been a high tide, yep, well, we've been having the stormy weather.
It's covered
No, it's the
Kinsey.
mean high water, it's
Yeah, and the moon and.
Right, right.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Dan's dock didn't cover the beach, it started, so it didn't prohibit people from walking on the beach.
If you, ma'am, I'm sorry, if you're gonna speak,
I know, I'm
I mean,
sorry.
Gotta go with the
People
microphone.
can hear at home for what you're saying. Yeah, that's why we use the microphone.
Paul's
Thank you.
got the podium now, so we'll let him
Just two
talk.
final comments, I think, just to respond to the two prior gentlemen here. And obviously, when we design piers, we realize that not every neighbor likes them, wants them, but in many cases, as Mr. Jensen knows as an engineer, we're hired to do a job. We're hired to design something that is compliant with the regulations, compliant with the bylaws, that we have learned through years of experience and testing. And I'm glad these two gentlemen brought up the issue on the railing and the gating off and the safety issue and the liability issue. We have learned over the last 30 to 35 years with piers in town that the homeowner usually, and it can be made mandatory, will gate off the end of the platform in the wintertime when that gangway and float are removed. There are a couple other ones, Mark, I want you to know, that obviously will gate it off at the beginning of the pier between the end of the crossover stairs and the beginning. So if the kids want to jump over what a homeowner has realistically done to protect the safety of the neighborhood and the kids, they are doing it. But if the kids want to jump over what a homeowner has done, obviously kids are kids today. We all grew up once and we all like our liberty and independences. So if they want to get over it, they're going to. Okay, but when we talk, well, hold on a second, one more item. When we talk about the wooden railing or the stainless steel and the wire handrail, when we look at that material, the ones in town that have it primarily are the lower walkways. Obviously, it's more money, we realize that. If it's 3 to 5, 6 feet above the salt marsh, whether it's wood or the vinyl coated material is fine. When we get out to the last 20 or 30 feet, which is definitely 10 feet above, okay, I would rather have, from my kids and my family viewpoint, a wooden railing that I can hold on to, that I feel a little bit more secure with. And obviously, Mr. Wozlewski, being the zoning enforcement officer, he looks at all these plans from a code compliance viewpoint. To me, a wooden railing, even though we will consider the vinyl coated one, will definitely, be considered, but I would prefer to have wood there just based on experience.
Paul, we weren't suggesting vinyl coated, we were
Okay.
The railing would be
Suggesting-
a steel,
Well,
a
the wire,
galvanized
yeah.
pipe.
a galvanized pipe, powder
Okay,
coated.
that's fine.
I was on one yesterday, it's 10.5 feet above.
Because I've
It's
seen the
as
galvanized ones and
sturdy as
ones that are
Sears.
vinyl coated. Okay.
Yeah, galvanized,
And
and
you-
But it's so
powder
thin,
coated. It was,
yeah.
it was
Yeah,
sent
but
to a
you-
paint shop and powder coated.
You could also add another cable if you wanted.
Good, sure.
Compromise.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Something to consider, sure.
So, oh, you made a comment earlier
No give.
that
It's like that's what kills me.
raised a question in my mind. Paul made a comment that the structure had to benefit the town. Is there anything about that? Is that true, that any structure has to be of a benefit to the town?
It's the statutory language that we have to follow, so.
Yeah, okay, well,
right, so
you know,
that's-
I'd like to have an explanation how this pier, which obviously is of no benefit to anyone except for a family that is there maybe 2 months of the year, and is of no benefit to anybody else anywhere nearby, how is this pier, if these structures are supposed to be of some benefit to the town, how is this a benefit to the town? It's obviously a benefit minus to the town, as anybody will tell you. So,
It keeps some pedestrians off the salt marsh, and it may minimize some traffic at the town pier.
Well, I think it's a very good question, but it's up to the applicant to demonstrate that. It's not up to the board to demonstrate that.
Okay, well,
And
let's
I do have
have
to
the
say, I think
applicant
Mr.
demonstrate the
Brogna has
benefit to the
provided a
town.
really thorough and good presentation about the technicality of the pier.
Yeah.
I personally have to say, I'm disappointed the applicant himself or herself is not here tonight.
but they don't live here.
They're on an airplane.
Well, that's my
You know,
opinion.
we all can't be,
I'm jealous.
right.
Seriously, I know.
I was on one
No,
2
it's-
weeks ago.
No,
Then-
it's fine, but if this pier is supposed to benefit the town somehow, can please somebody explain?
I'll
how
explain
this
one
is
aspect about
benefit?
that if you'd like, is that,
Please.
you're gonna love this, every single structure in town is taxed. And it becomes a benefit to every member of the town, because the taxes that are collected from the town, the people that live in the town are the direct benefits of it all.
Good point.
That's one point that is how structures are looked at, just that I know about.
That's 3 reasons.
Yep.
Madam Chair, one last item on benefit to the town. Environmentally, these regulations are there for us to design the best structure that will be environmentally compliant with the resource areas and the state and local requirements from the Wetlands Protection Act. We have a number of piers in town. When we drive the piles in, they actually protect the structural integrity of the salt marsh. As Mr. Jensen said 20 minutes ago, the quality of the salt marsh has already deteriorated without a pier there. Without a pier there. Okay, so in that respect, I can see a couple areas of this salt marsh with the construction being done normally to drive these piles in, you may end up improving the salt marsh in a couple areas. One of the requirements the state has is they like to see piers in a north-south direction, primarily because of the southern and eastern exposure of the sun in the summertime to let the salt marsh grow. They prefer north-south versus east and west. And this is one of the few local Duxbury conditions where this pier is almost true north and south. It's an ideal location.
Can I ask a
Yes, sir.
question of you, Paul, about that? Could it be considered that, and I'm just asking this because you're the engineer, that the piles themselves offer some stabilization to that area?
It can under certain conditions based on, let's just say, the type of salt marsh that's there and the quality of what's there at the time of construction. But we've seen a few areas where we have the calving where the salt marsh will cave in from one year to another. But if we put, a couple piles, 4 feet apart, for the width of that structure, and you position them such, you can end up strengthening the end of that salt marsh for many years to come. It doesn't happen with every 10-foot bent, but it can be done if it's done properly and with good design and construction technique.
Oh, yeah, I see the steel railings, Paul, on the stairs going down. Very similar.
Yep, exactly, yep.
And that's sturdier and less splinters, too. No splinters.
Correct, beautiful. Yeah,
And the
no
seagulls
splinters
are
at all.
less likely to land on it and poop all over it.
I'm sorry?
The seagulls are less likely to land on the aluminum railing and mess it up.
They'll find some wooden areas to do their thing, as we well know, okay? But we do everything we can to at least try to keep the gulls and everybody away from there.
Okay?
So, can we,
I think we've got to see if there's anybody else in the audience.
no, well, I was just going to
Can
ask.
we condition it?
We can condition it.
We can.
McCarthy's was conditioned and several others.
I think Bob wants to say something.
Bob Burpee, 43 Priscilla Lane. I'm about 6-7 houses to the east of this property. Just a couple things I'd like to make a comment on. Regarding the pilings, I think with the storms that we've been having, there'll more than likely be some scouring that takes place around the base of these pilings, which, in my opinion, would increase the erosion of the marsh. The stairs that are there to cross over are there because they're required. My guess is that were they not required, they might not be there. As Soren pointed out earlier, there are a lot of older people on Standish Shore, which I may be getting towards, I suppose, that will need to use these stairs on a regular basis. They're going to have to cross this stairway. They're not going to have any other alternative other than to go under it, as Freeman pointed out, when the tide is a little bit further out, which is going to cause them to walk on the salt marsh, which is going to deteriorate the salt marsh quicker by walking on it. People generally walk on the sandy beach rather than on the marsh because you're dealing with these pools, these ankle-breaking little holes here and there in the marsh. So people tend to walk on the sand rather than on the marsh area. I just feel that, I don't want to just say they shouldn't be able to have another pier out there, but because everybody has the right to apply for anything as long as it meets the bylaws. But I think in this particular instance,
you are forcing the people to either use that stairway if they want to walk the beach, or as the tide goes out, forcing them to walk on the marsh. Another thing that was said earlier was that when John Reed's stairs were taken away in a storm, they weren't replaced. Probably not a huge issue due to the fact you can walk onto John Reed's pier. There's enough headroom. In this case, you've got 4 feet that goes to 5 feet, but essentially, there's not enough headroom to walk onto this one. And if these stairs go away in an October storm, and these folks who are, I don't know, I'm hearing that they're here for 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, and the stairs aren't replaced, that creates a hardship for the older people, the elderly, the people that have lived on Standish Shore for 40 or 50 years or more, to be able to walk the beach that they've been walking their entire lives, in many cases. So I just think that there should be some consideration about the neighbors, the people that have been walking there forever. I know that it was brought up earlier about, why can't the stairs start at the marsh? And the answer was that, well, then they'd have to walk on the water to get to their pier. But I think that some of these things should be considered. I know if they meet all the guidelines, and I'm sure they do with Paul's presentation, but I think it's more about considering all your neighbors as opposed to just meeting the letter of the law. That's it.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything to say?
Let's say if you want to wish, go ahead.
Dan Hawkins, 23 Spring Street. I'm a butter immediately to the east of this property. I have a pier, so I can't very well object to a pier, but I have some comments about the construction of the pier that have already been brought up, and one of them's the railings. The timber railings, Reed's Pier initially had the wood railings, and they were carried away in a storm. So he went and put in the cable, not pipe. His railings are the tensioned quarter-inch stainless steel cable. And I think they pass through the 4x4 timbers. They don't have any vertical pipe.
Right.
And so this area of Standish Shore gets much more storm surge than further down Marshall Street or anywhere else further up in the bay. It faces south. It doesn't make sense unless you live there and watch it year after year. On a northeaster, when there's 15 and 20-foot waves out in Cape Cod Bay, those waves actually wrap around Saquesh, and even though the wind's blowing out of the northeast, the waves come in from the south, the swell. So we get sometimes 6, 8-foot swells and if it's on a 10, 12-foot tide, those wood rails, they'll get carried away. I guarantee it. It happened to Reed's Pier, it'll happen to this one. And from the Berg's perspective as a homeowner, they must be concerned about aesthetics. I would think they would like, it's a much cleaner look with the stainless steel cable railings. And from a safety point of view, put 3 strands on each side.
Which is what they do. They put 3, and then the pipe gets drilled through the 4x4 the whole way.
Yeah,
Reed
the top rail's usually a pipe.
Reed doesn't have a pipe.
Right.
His are 3 strands of quarter-inch.
Things have come,
But
designs have come a long way, and
they're tensioned so that they're
pretty good.
They're sturdy.
Oh, yeah.
And it does, an added benefit is it keeps the seagulls
Low
off.
profile.
low
Yeah.
profile, aesthetically better looking. Doesn't obstruct the view as much.
What kind of pier do you have?
It's
There's a-
rustic.
It's on the picture.
Yeah, it was built in 1950 by my father, so it's,
That one.
and that is low enough where
Oh, with the posts.
the
okay.
deck is removed
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
every fall.
Or
The
you
whole
lose it,
decking
right?
is gone during the winter because it'll get removed by Mother Nature. The first northeaster in the fall carries it away.
Well, is that something we can consider for this
Yeah, that's-
project, is removing the whole
His
deck?
is an unusual design, and
This is,
he kills himself every year
yeah.
doing it.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
that would resolve the view issue and the safety issue.
No
and-
deck? You'd still have all your supports.
Yeah,
But you,
Not- 'cause it-
so picture your
What about
support.
just-
I'm looking
You
at
still
it.
can't, but you still can't,
Yeah.
What
you're
about
looking
just,
underneath the thing.
There's nothing on
Yeah,
it.
there's no deck on
There's
it.
no deck on that.
I take the deck out every winter.
That's because it's so low.
Oh, right, look at that.
Because it's
Yeah,
low, you
that's-
can't do that when
So
it's
the,
higher.
And, yeah, that's not a proper pier.
Paul Bronya can speak to this. The requirements that he has to design to are different than when my
Far
peer.
surpass what you
Yep.
have.
I don't think there were any permitting requirements back in 1950. So now the requirements are to build it higher, so you don't have to take the deck off.
And so the storms won't rip it out.
Actually, I don't think the storm at the height that it's designed to will not take the deck off of.
Correct.
It didn't take the deck off of Reed's Pier, and that's been there 20-something years. It did take the railings off. It ripped them off. And it'll also, the stairs, the steps to get up and over, those will be gone by the following January, guaranteed. Reeds were gone. They'll be destroyed because it's,
Some folks take them in and out every year.
yeah, well, Reed's has never been put back.
Right.
The beach is lowered at his point to where there's 6 feet of clearance. You could walk under his pier. But this one, it'll be where there's sand between the marsh and the seawall. There'll be less, 4 feet to 5 feet, maybe. So you'd have to duck pretty hard to get under it. So the stairs, when they're gone, Bob made a good point. People will now go out where it's 6 feet and walk on the marsh. And the marsh there has been, Reed's Pier is so long because it was built to where the edge of the marsh was 20 years ago. Where my pier is, in the 70s, the marsh grew 30 feet past the pier. We've lost 50 feet of marsh in the last 30 to 40 years. It's just, and every year, more and more is going.
And not because of the pier.
No, piers don't help. I don't agree with the concept that the pier pilings stabilize the marsh. Wherever there's a piling, and these are, I don't know, what are they? They're pressure treated. The marsh will scour for a foot around every piling. It always does. On every pier piling down there, just from the storm surge. But that's not the main cause. I think
It's a wave action.
wave
The back
action.
river is getting,
And
And there
it's,
aren't piers.
and it's the continuous seawall that's now constructed. Every time you put a seawall, I
Stop
think
the
a lot of
nourishment.
seawall order of conditions state that the property owner has to import sand every year. It's never enforced. It's never been done. The reason that beach used to be so much more sand was because there wasn't these seawalls that had the geotextile fabric behind them that prevented Like my seawall was built, 70 years ago, and there's nothing, no riprap stuffed in the rocks. There's no geotextile fabric behind it. And the waves sand. I mean, the coastal bank nourishes itself, but that's been going on for years as the new seawalls get built. But anyway, I digress. But one of my other concerns, apart from the stairs that'll get blown away every year, I don't know if you can require that they be replaced if they are.
We could condition it.
Well, I would say,
Can that be a
if they
condition?
blow away, they don't come back, somebody would contact our enforcement agent, and something possibly could be done.
Yeah, but there's no enforcement agent.
He's right here, he does a
come
pretty
on.
good job.
But he's not gonna do anything unless somebody complains.
Well, exactly, but how would he know? He wouldn't know.
Yeah.
He's not walking, you walk that beach,
You
You
need to
don't walk
patrol
the
whole
entire
town.
beach every day from one end to the other?
someone would have to call.
So, that's one item. And I know the stairs, Paul Bronya has to design the stairs, and it's a requirement.
Absolutely,
Has to be there.
yep.
So if they're gonna be there, and they have to be there, I guess if you can't put a condition in that they be replaced, if they're destroyed, then we'll have to complain to the enforcing authority.
You know, it's probably not a bad thing for us to start adding to
We
it.
can do that.
Yeah, well, they add that when you do a seawall, that you have to, I think it's yearly in some of the order of conditions, import sand.
Yep, but they haven't enforced it because it would drive a few people into bankruptcy if they
Yeah,
did.
but there you go. I'm sure rebuilding those steps every year would drive the Bergs into bankruptcy.
I wouldn't think so.
Another concern of mine is the aluminum gangway. And I see it up and down the shore. They squeak. So they have, and it's not a big concern in Bluefish River and Eagle's Nest, or around towards Bay Road and Kingston Bay area. But this area, Standish Shore, has a constant swell, more than anywhere else. So that float will go up and down, and at the end of these gangways, at the
Little
top,
wheels.
there's a pivot bolt, and at the bottom, there's a roller, so that the gangway can roll back and forth.
Some have rollers, some have wheels.
Yeah.
I don't see why we can't condition the approval of this
Squeak-proof?
pier that they
It'll
grease it
drive the
annually.
birds crazy, the people who own the pier.
They grease it annually.
Well, they have air conditioning, so I don't have air conditioning. My windows are open all summer. If that thing's squeaking, I'm gonna
The
play
sailboats
AC.
make a lot of noise as well, so.
Say again?
I think we're getting into the minutia with
That's
the
true.
sailboats.
The
When they don't
halyards.
tie the halyards, that'd drive you nuts sometimes as
Yeah,
well.
that's
so.
true, but you don't have to get a special permit to have a sailboat.
No, it's still,
And I know there's no
Not
zoning bylaw
Right.
that addresses squeaking.
We
But
have a noise ordinance.
it's, yeah, there's a,
You don't? Never mind.
well, is there a light, is there a,
yeah, they all think we can't make noise before a certain time, but we can.
so it's my understanding also, so that would be one of my recommendations, that whether they do rubber wheels or at least if, because sometimes they do this longitudinal aluminum roller, they squeak. Anyways, my point is made. The
Absolutely.
squeak is,
And somebody's listening too in the back.
okay. And I think I wrote a letter to Paul of the Conservation Commission that addressed similar concerns. So, yeah, the cable railings will be a benefit to the owner visually, and it'll keep seagulls off. I understand that the bylaws do not allow lights on piers.
Except for holiday lighting.
Christmas tree.
Yeah, some of those Christmas lightings are up
Oh,
all year.
no, I get it.
I mean, and some of them are continuous.
I've called him at 10 o'clock. Remember I called you at 10 o'clock one night coming in on Powder Point? I go, it's lit up like a runway and it really screws up my lane.
Yeah.
Where I'm going. So I'm
So-
a firm believer in no lighting.
Yeah. It attracts fish, I kind of like that part, but the Reed's Pier has a light on the end of it,
They can't do that.
and no runway lighting, so I just want to, there is no lighting.
We,
on the-
correct.
Condition on everything you did in the last 20 years, there's been no holiday.
Right.
Christmas tree on-
The bylaws do not allow them.
Now, Christmas tree, I'm not going to complain about it, I'm not Scrooge,
Holiday tree, we've been
Holiday
calling
tree?
them. We've been calling them.
whatever it is. They're not there, they're not going to put a holiday tree up, they're gone in the wind. As far as the adding value to the town, yeah, this will increase the Berg's assessed property value. I could make an argument that it'll decrease a butter's property values.
No.
I mean, if I were to sell my property, would it be more valuable without a pier or with 150 feet of pier and ramp and float?
Would your property be worth more if you had a pier?
My piers,
Well, I mean, if you
it's
had
a
a,
different thing, yeah, yeah.
you
no,
had one like this.
You're right, I understand, yeah. I have a pier, it's permitted. I've considered rebuilding that pier, and if I did rebuild that pier, it would have to be a
It would look,
design
it would
similar
look
to
just
this
like this.
because of the rules. I could not build my pier today.
And potentially you'd face the same panel, right?
Oh, I'd have these folks. So, I like my pier, it's fine, it works great. You know, I think it's a 2-foot walkway. It works, I don't know why you need two-way traffic, and that's another consideration. I understand the one-to-one. The height of piers is, the height of a pier is driven by a concern that sunlight doesn't get to the marsh. So that drive, is that your understanding? It's one of my understandings. Yeah, so you don't starve the marsh grass of sunlight. And I understand the maximum allowed width is 4 feet. I don't understand why you couldn't go to a 3-foot wide walkway.
I think it's because they invented a Yeti cooler. Those things are huge.
I understand, and it just goes to the 14,000 square foot. Yeah, you build it because you can, but
It's more comfortable as well. A 3-foot
feet.
walkway doesn't work anymore. Your average walkway is 48 inches. Going into a home or anywhere. They used to be, but now,
It's pretty funny.
mine's 2 feet.
right.
the wheelchair down.
I very rarely have had two-way traffic on a
True.
pier.
No, I would get that.
And,
Dragging your cart or whatever. And
yeah, initially I thought that,
it's what's standard as well. It's what's out there, every one of them.
I understand. Initially I thought perhaps if it's a 1-to-1 width to height ratio, then if you narrow it to 3 feet, you can lower it.
But you
But
don't
you
want,
can't, you don't want to lower it.
you don't want to lower it,
I-
the ice will take it away.
Aesthetically, I get it. My pier's low, it's not terrible looking, but it gets, I have to take the deck out every year because it gets destroyed. You can't go low. You'd have to build a concrete and steel pier to withstand the waves there in the winter if you went lower. But the other concern I have is the deck at the end, not the float, but there's an expanded area at the end,
6 by 8,
platform,
yeah,
6 feet wide.
6 by 8.
I think that, is there a bylaw?
It's a 2-foot bumper.
It's only 2, yeah.
And that complies, I know there's a pier bylaw that restricts that.
Correct. The way he's got it designed,
It meets
it
those.
meets the criteria.
And I understand the bylaw also states that that platform cannot be used for seating.
No, it can, you just can't put the dock lockers outside of it.
I believe the bylaw on the pier states that it cannot be used for seating.
That doesn't make any sense.
What would you use
A lot
it?
of people put chairs out there.
Put what?
Chairs out there.
I think can I have an understanding that we look at the bylaws and,
Certainly, I think they're working on it right now.
I don't have it in front of me. I read it. I don't have it in front of me, but it's along with no lights, and I believe there's no seating allowed. I understand a small dock box to keep life preservers or boat
And you can
vendors.
sit
that
on the
kind of
dock locker
Yeah.
too.
I understand that use, but I think it's restricted that you cannot put seating on it.
We've never encountered that
But
in the 30
I
plus
I
piers
think it's
that we-
written, and Jim's looking it up.
Who's going to enforce that one?
Say again?
Yeah.
If you can't
can't
enforce
sit
the lights,
down.
how are you going to
I'd have
enforce
to
somebody
complain
sitting
to
at the
him
end of
again.
the pier?
All I gotta say is,
We do not accept verbal complaints in the department. If you have a complaint, you come in and file a complaint. If you want to do it anonymously, you can do it by paper. If you want to do it online, you can do it online, and we go out and we take a look at them.
Did you say anonymously?
Anonymously.
I'm sorry.
If
say
you
that
want.
again?
If you want to file a complaint anonymously, the only way to do it is come in and fill it out in paper and not put your name on it.
But what did you say? If I heard anonymously, but I thought what did you say?
If you want to file a complaint about these things that keep coming up,
Yeah,
and then we go out and we investigate it. The complaint initiates our ability to go out and investigate these things, so we're not just targeting people out of the blue. That's the
I
purpose of that.
okay. Fair enough. So like I said, I can't really voice an objection to a pier. I have a pier. So I'm just making points about the construction of the pier that I think would benefit.
And I've made note. Stairs,
And I understand that you don't have some authority on
we
some
do
of
have a
these.
bit of authority.
Some. But I'm more pointing it out to Paul.
Sure.
To raise these points with the owner.
Right, but we have the ability to condition all sorts of projects.
Oh, okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
I've made notes on stairs, low profile / cables.
Yeah, keeps birds away.
No lighting is one of our standards, so.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they're reasonable, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna slide that one in. I think these are reasonable requests,
Yeah, and, yeah, suggestions, requests.
both.
Well, some of them are conditions and some of them are suggestions, I think.
Yeah, no light's a condition. Believe no seating, and
I think putting the stairs back within, 2 months of when they get removed, it wouldn't be a bad thing.
yeah, and part of the design.
Yeah, we
is-
can condition that.
Yeah.
We can condition the low the railing.
Yeah,
We can,
Perhaps-
if you feel that strongly.
perhaps Paul can take a closer look at the design of the stairs so that they don't, I mean, if you just put wood stringers and wood treads and wood railings, the surface area of all that, just anchored with some expansion bolts into a little concrete pad like Reed had.
I don't think you can put a
These
concrete
just
pad down.
float, so to speak.
No, they get anchored into the
That-
Sand?
with
So Reed's
pilings.
had like 4-foot square, foot-thick concrete pad.
I don't
but
think
it-
conservation will allow that.
Say again?
Conservation won't allow that.
It's on the sand.
I
Well, maybe,
know,
yeah,
but they
okay.
Still,
So I don't know if there's piles driven into the sand.
so
or
4x4s or something, Paul? Yeah.
That's the way to go. That's the only thing that stays, is a 4x4
That's what we use the 4x4.
post driven into the
Should be on
sand.
the plan, I think.
Okay.
Just for clarification, I don't read anything in the bylaw about restrictions about chairs on that platform, and Lauren just looked too, but neither of us see that in that section.
swear
It's a
I-
small section too, so.
Could be having a senior moment.
That's
but
okay.
I swear I saw it.
I remember one scenario where this conversation came up,
Okay.
and they wanted to condition that.
Yeah.
I forget which pair it was, but
McLaughlin Pier.
In any event.
McLaughlin
And
pair.
we didn't put chairs on. I mean, I didn't restrict the chairs.
I can't recall how that ended up, but
All right. In any
we know it
event,
ended
I'll
up in
move
court.
on.
Moving on, sounds good.
I had another concern and I've forgotten. Oh, the construction methods. It's my understanding that there's a period of restricted time frame when they can construct it.
When you
January
can't.
through March?
When you can't, May 1st through July?
Oh, I thought it was more like,
April 1st, early spring to October, November, if you're in a natural heritage endangered species location, which we're not.
okay. I thought,
It's close.
I thought I saw something that,
It depends on where you are.
okay,
It's in the order of conditions,
okay.
so they'll have to follow that. May 1st through July 31st of any year.
That's
Per the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries.
that's the time when they can't construct.
Correct.
So after July 31st?
Between May 1st and July 31st, no construction activity should take place in order to protect the sensitive life stages of horseshoe crabs.
Okay. So, in theory, they could be out there in August with a 100-foot barge.
Not at the rate they're going right now, I could absolutely
Well,
guarantee
maybe
you.
not this August or next August,
Oh,
but
sure.
eventually. It could be.
November's a good time, too.
Yeah. The best time is January through April.
I don't think they'll use a 100-foot barge, usually just a little thing.
Yeah. Well, if they're bringing in how do they drive the piles that are close to the beach?
It's usually a tripod. They put the first few in and then they set the tripod up and they kind of roll it
So
across.
there's not a wheeled or tracked vehicle
No,
on the sand?
nothing on the marsh.
So they can't, now, they do not, they cannot touch the salt marsh.
I understand that,
So it's
right.
Either through via a barge at
Yeah.
halftime or above, or
Right.
one of the contractors have the mechanism to drive the piles in and then walk from pile to pile and walk out every 10 feet
Yeah.
and put another set of piles in. So it can be done, but it's just, every job is unique for that location.
I know when they build seawalls, they do bring tracked or wheeled vehicles onto the sand.
You can touch the sand, we can't touch the salt.
Right. So again, is there an enforcement agency that,
Definitely, you'd call conservation if they
okay,
drove on the
that
salt
start
marsh.
driving on the salt marsh? Okay, fair enough. One other point on accessibility on the beach.
Thank you, yeah, accessibility.
Yeah, past your bedtime. All right, take it easy. This pier will essentially deny access to homeowners in this area.
How so?
No, wait a minute, I'm not finished.
Okay.
Deny access for constructing seawalls. Let's say in the future, I was to redo my seawall,
You're gonna come up and over your own property,
okay?
which is how they all operate.
Well,
For the,
not down here. There are, somebody made the point earlier, there are beach access at the end of each one of these roads, Priscilla, Standish. Spring Street has a thing called Shore Way. And I think, Freeman, you did a seawall down there where you had tracked equipment go down over the low point of the seawall at the end of Shore Way and then go.
which is next to you, right?
Shore Way is to the east of me.
Yeah.
Right, it abuts me to the east.
Right.
So that was the Cataldo's Pier. It was on the other side of Shore Way, not pier, seawall.
Seawall.
Was done just a few years ago with tracked equipment that got down over a low point in the seawall, built the seawall, and then, but in this instance, I could not go, well, I could access my property,
Right.
but if the Bergs were to redo their seawall, I guess that's a cross that bridge when you get to it.
They can't drive over, I couldn't drive my equipment across your property to get to the Bergs without your permission.
Permission.
Because I would not be in the process of fishing, fouling, or navigating, which has to be done below mean high water, isn't
Right,
it,
yeah.
Paul? What's the elevation on that?
Technically, the beach above mean high water is private property.
Correct.
Technically.
So technically, where these stairs are isn't permissible. You can't legally walk across these stairs.
Right, technically.
You'd have to walk on the salt marsh to stay off of private
Right.
property.
And only if you were fishing, fouling.
If you want to look at every little
If you
detail.
wanted to go by the letter of the law. Nobody enforces it, everybody lets people
We'd rather
walk.
let them go on the beach
I
than
think
walk on
the
the salt
private
marsh.
beach signs are there to keep the people from out of town who access through the Standish lot and come down and set up camps on private beach for the day. I mean, I think
Yep.
that's the intent of that. So I guess the only point I'm trying to make is it would probably only affect Berg property themselves. They would not be able to access their own beach to be.
Oh, we'd find a way.
There's always a way.
There's
You
always
rip
a
right through the yard, you build a
That's
expensive road right down,
the seawall there is
and you
20.
build it back.
Seawall's 20 feet high, but yeah. So they couldn't theoretically access by the Standish cellar hole. That's town property without permission.
Okay, so.
Interesting.
Moving on.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'm done.
Eddie, is it?
I'm gonna be very quick.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Because, to make sure I got my points across, I already wrote up a little letter, which I'm going to hand over to the committee. And I just want to make sure when I'm on camera right now that my wife and I are strongly opposed to the pier. Make a note of that, okay? Secondly, what I heard before was that you can make some conditions and rules about the pier.
We can.
Yes.
You can. I like that, because that's also one of the things I address in my letter, that I would like to have some rules about people have to come up with a really good reason down in our neck of the wood to have a pier.
No, we're not going to write regulations.
Well, whatever you want to write,
Have to
but
come
I'm
up
just
with a
telling
really-
you.
no.
This
We're
would
not
be,
familiar with the
We can
regulations.
condition the approval of this permit application. We cannot change the regulations to state
No, but
that
I
they
mean,
have
it
to come up
doesn't
with a
mean
good
that you
reason to
can't think
want a
about it.
pier.
Because, I mean, like I said before, there are two types of piers in this town.
Yep, you made that clear.
Yeah, I hope you made that
Do you
clear.
have any new points for us?
Um,
I heard all of the old ones.
well, maybe sometimes people need to be repeated what you're saying. I have that
Okay.
problem too.
Do you have any really important points?
I think just about seawalls. Seawalls, you know, it's come up all over the place right now, all the way up.
True,
to
I
the end.
know that well.
Yes.
How do you know that?
I know that. And one of the reasons is obviously coming from countries where they have a lot of current, that is like a riptide. Right? And when all the marsh was gone, which is one thing I noticed specifically when I used to do some windsurfing, sailing and stuff like that, that there's now a very strong current going alongside tide current every day when the marsh is gone away. So, with my permission, are you the chair? Who's the chair?
acting.
Tonight?
Tanya is-
Can I
Tanya.
hand this letter over to you?
You
Yep.
may.
Yeah? And I used to go normally up to lawn, but now this time it wrote an update about some of the things I've been saying, so I would like to hand that over. And one last point is that I don't know who was mentioning about that this Standish shore is right out to the opening of the inlet to the Atlantic Ocean. I think everybody knows that.
Yes.
And that's why there are all these landings are right. And that's over there where the Holland Lands Park, where you can go and see that sign was put up by the town. I think it's a great idea to indicate why this part of Standish Shore is so vulnerable for the ocean.
It is.
Thank you very much for letting me say it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hate to do this.
Uh-oh.
I have one question. The stairs. The stairs are on what's considered a private beach, right?
Correct.
All right. How do we ensure access
Yeah,
across those
Lauren,
stairs?
you want to take it? Yeah.
Want to take it?
Yeah,
I
Lauren
didn't
can
hear
take
that
it.
question.
Thank you very much.
So
How
you
does
can-
he ensure access across the stairs?
If they're on a private beach. They're on the private beach, the stairs.
Got me.
Yeah, I wondered that myself, actually. I don't understand
I
how
mean,
that works.
they have to have the stairs. They don't want to, we don't want to put the stairs in the marsh,
Correct.
Right.
yet the stairs are on a private beach. And 2 years from now,
I,
somebody upsets somebody and it's a private.
I would guess,
2 years from now, the sea level rise, it will become,
We'll be able to swim across.
no, you'll be able to walk on it because mean high water go up beyond the
Mean
stairs.
high water line will go up.
Yeah, the beach is no longer there.
4 feet, it'll be,
close.
in 70 years, it'll be underwater according to predictions.
What's
But
your answer, Jim?
the answer I would say is that if the pier is approved as designed and the stairs go away, they could always condition the permit that the stairs have to be replaced within a reasonable amount of time. And if they aren't, they call me and I go down there and then we deal with it and try and
Yeah,
find
but
them.
his
get
point
That's
is
not my
that
question, though.
that's not his point. His point, fish fowl and navigate, the federal law that gives you the right to walk below mean high water.
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
okay.
And
And but the
private
stairs are
property.
above mean high water, so you don't have any rights to use the stairs.
No, yeah.
So
Never
why
been
are
a
they
problem, though.
One
required?
for the lawyers, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know the
I'm
answer to that one.
It's a very good question. We don't have the answer.
It's been done in other places.
Yeah, it's been required on all of them.
So that couldn't be a condition?
It could be.
That they be put on the salt marsh?
No?
that they-
Access.
Access, that
I
it be an access.
don't think we can
And not revoke
grant,
access.
we can't grant people access onto their property.
Yeah, so that's a question.
It would be an easement.
I think,
Permit. Out of a special permit.
The only thing-
recorded at the registry.
could I speak to the board?
Yes,
Please,
please.
Joe.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Jim.
I think we had that, there was another one that happened where
I shouldn't have brought that up.
it was a consideration because it was private property.
Excuse me, the building inspector is speaking. Could we pipe down there in the audience? Thank you.
Thanks. I do recall a pair that happened a year ago, probably more now, I think it was through COVID, where they installed the stairs as a courtesy, as part of a consideration to allow the pier to be installed, to allow people access over that pier. So, to answer that question, I think that it could be part of that consideration to say, hey, we've considered people's access over this pier. Because that's the way that was done, I forget,
Abrams Hill.
I think it was Abrams Hill.
93.
Yeah,
Judy required that the stairs be out below mean high water for that reason alone. But you were walking on the salt marsh to use them.
right.
Which defeats the purpose.
Yeah, you can't put them on the salt.
And the other application tonight that decided not to,
Didn't have a quorum.
didn't have a quorum, has the same design.
Right.
The stairs, you have to walk along the marsh, use the stairs, and
Do the stairs have railings on them? I can't tell from this. point.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here, there'd be, if you go out that far, well, you won't be able to use them.
Let me ask this question. Is the question derived as a concern that someone could build this pier and then all of a sudden not let them use the stairs? Is that the concern?
Legally.
What law, or bylaw, or attachment to the approval says that people have access in perpetuity?
Oh,
Again, that's for the lawyers.
there isn't one. There's no way we could write it.
That's private property.
It's on private property.
Correct.
You know, somebody,
The options are
It-
overlook the issue or move the stairs out to the salt marsh.
Well, and
Those are the
one
two
of,
options you have.
one of the folks out here said, you're already running into being asked to not be on the beach where you're walking. That's already occurring.
Where's that?
Well, somebody
the
said it,
Reeds?
Mark said it, Mark Roberts, he's one.
It was a mark, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you have rights to walk on the Reed's property.
No, they didn't say Reeds, he said beach.
Where?
I don't know.
What beach?
I don't know, could it be all up? There's a lot of homeowners, back and forth.
Do you have rights to walk on this beach? Where's mean high water in relation to the beach?
You can walk on any beach as long
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
Only below mean high water.
Not without
And mean high
permission.
water is only on the salt marsh on this property. So you can't legally walk on the coastal beach.
Yeah, nobody enforces it.
I agree, so.
I don't tell
why don't
people-
So we shouldn't-
Why don't we just forget about the
Do
issue?
you have a comment that you hadn't made before?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And
Go
I'll be
ahead.
very brief,
Okay.
try not to digress. First question is for Paul. I think he's the guy to answer it.
You have to ask us and.
Okay, what is the regulation that stipulates that you have to have stairs to go up and over? Is that state, federal, Army Corps of Engineers?
We'll let Paul answer that.
I think we had said earlier, Paul Brockner, Seacoast Engineering, that the state Chapter 91 regulations require, if you do not have 4.8 feet of clearance at or near the mean high water line, the crossover stairs are required.
What do we have at mean high water?
Are the stairs supposed to be at mean high water, or do you just supply stairs? This is the question, because,
Well, keep in mind, in some areas of the town, mean high water incorporates the sandy beach. In this location, the mean high water line is waterward of the sand, which is a
probably
little
have
bit
s-
different.
You probably have
But the
6
state has
feet.
always opined, put the stairs, not in the salt marsh, but put them on the beach if it's at or near the mean high water line. So if it's 10 or 15 feet higher than the mean high water line, again, common sense and logic, nobody's gonna say anything about it. But obviously, the last 10 minutes, we've discussed this unique issue, okay?
and the
But the state
intention
is gonna
for
say,
the
put the
public to
stairs on.
access, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
How much clearance do they have at mean high water below the pier, Paul? I'm guessing it's 6 feet.
It looks less.
At mean high water?
5 feet.
Yeah, but that's not mean high water. Mean high water is way the heck out.
5.5 feet. 1.3 to 10.6 feet.
So that's almost a little duck and a go.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I can go right under.
Do it, which obviously most people don't walk in the salt marsh.
So they don't have to have the stairs then by code, except they might want them for themselves to be able to get onto the beach.
That's true.
So we've
Absolutely.
wrapped that issue right up then.
So we don't have we can condition it with no stairs.
So I have one
What?
comment.
No, we can't.
They need the stairs
They
for
wanna get-
themselves to get down to the beach.
Yeah,
The property owners.
Yes,
yeah, they won't be able to get to the beach without those stairs.
correct.
So, one comment about mean high water. That's a datum that's established, and it does not correlate where in fact
It is.
the high water is.
It's from 1988, I think.
Yeah,
it says, right?
it's a datum that was established how long ago?
We've used 3 dams over the last 20 years.
Right, so it's a constantly changing thing, and there, it changes from storm to storm. We can add a foot of sand, and then a month later, lose a foot of sand.
It's true.
It's not relevant to the discussion, but I had, did you just take? Real quick. So my comment about the work being accomplished November through March, that's a Massachusetts Department of Marine Fisheries recommendation.
Not requirement.
Recommendation,
Sure.
that's all I'm saying.
You wouldn't want to build a pier out there in February, though, I don't think.
What was that
Maybe
again?
this year, but-
Say that again.
Mass DMF,
Okay,
Division of Marine Fisheries.
yep.
Has a letter, and I don't know where I found this, but we could look it up. But it's just a recommendation anyways.
That,
The state
that they
Division of Marine
not build from when to when?
recommends that work on salt marsh be accomplished November through March. Again, we have conflicting regulations from different agencies.
Correct. The big,
Just a comment.
right.
25 figures when you read earlier,
It's a recommendation.
May 1st to July
Well-
31st.
Yeah, so there's conflicting regulations or recommendations.
Okay,
Moving on.
I'm ready to move on.
So also Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries not regulations, I'm sorry. Recommendations, they recommend helical anchors versus mushroom. This is for the float. I concur wholeheartedly with that.
With what, the helicals?
Yes.
Would you ever consider that, Paul?
All right.
We have used them on a couple of jobs. We
Yeah.
prefer the mushroom. Some towns require the Duxbury Massachusetts.
Okay. Why do you, I'm curious why you prefer them.
When we take the float out in the wintertime, it's easier for aids to navigation to work. In other words, the harbor master, most harbor masters don't like the helical platters because they're still up a few inches with the eyelet on it 24/7 throughout the rest of the year.
My comment on this,
There are a couple of designs you can look at there, which we can do, but, you know, the helical files and some of the other attachments, some towns like them, some towns don't. It just depends on what the preference is that comes in from DML.
so this area here, mushrooms do not sink, it's not mud or sand, there's clay. It's hard clay there.
Yeah.
So the
We're
mushrooms
recommending.
don't,
Duxbury rejected
if
it.
you look out in front of Standish Shore, the mushrooms don't sink in the mud
Okay.
as they would
I
anywhere
just want to go
else.
home.
Excuse me,
Well, if they're gonna-
gentlemen,
I really.
excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah, you guys,
This
we're
is,
starting to.
Okay.
we're
You guys are
losing
carrying
the
on
hearing
conversation.
and you're hearing on a
Yeah, Unless
conversation.
anybody has anything new to add,
We're gonna wrap it up here.
Okay,
like to wrap it up and.
all right.
So.
Yeah, I already made all these comments to a letter that Paul's had. And
Okay.
I guess
We
it's
don't get
more
overtime for
recommendations
being here.
to Paul's design.
So if that concludes public comment,
Anybody on the TV?
No,
no,
worse.
just
No,
Boris.
just
Okay.
us.
Okay.
All right, so,
Need a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
all those in
All
favor?
favor?
Aye. Aye, Boris?
Aye,
You're not Boris.
Perfect.
Hi, Tanya, okay,
I
Good to
am,
speak, aye, Boris.
super.
all right.
Any further discussion?
Well, I will just say, we might want to take a straw poll.
All right, I'm gonna come right up. I'm in favor of it.
Okay, I am not,
Okay.
Really?
really.
Could you explain your position?
Yeah, I was looking at the bylaw as everybody was talking and making their points, and section 902.2.2B talks about seasonal consequences, and I'm listening to the neighbors and I'm hearing about the issues of access, and this is bothering me. The fact that there are complaints about it impacting views from the public areas is disturbing to me as well. And that is something that we are required to consider under section 902.2.3A, scenic views from public ways. It doesn't matter that it's not in a scenic overlay district, it's something that we're required to consider. And I'm hearing the neighbors, I'm hearing a lot of opposition. I can't, in good conscience, grant something that I know could be a detriment to the neighborhood.
So Paul, you just heard your straw vote. What would you like to do?
It seems he can't talk. The meeting's closed.
Oh, right, yeah.
One question
Boris
and
can.
one
Didn't you
comment
just
if
say
I could.
Boris?
What's that?
No, I was thinking,
You said, I thought you said Boris, I'm sorry.
no, right, we should have taken the straw before.
No, we closed it.
Right.
We haven't
You can open it.
made a
We
decision.
haven't made a
Taking
decision.
the straw, so,
We can open
We
it
can
again.
reopen it.
yes, which is what we'll have to do.
Okay.
Can I just ask one question?
No,
No, the
the,
hearing's closed,
hearing's
Paul,
closed.
sorry.
Okay, that's fine. I would recommend reopening then, thank you.
It just seems to me as though the only place it obstructs the view is if you're walking above mean high water on private property.
Have you been there, Tanya?
I haven't, but I'm listening to what the neighbors
I
are
was,
saying.
I was there today, and speaking of 40 years, I grew up playing basketball there, so I bet I have more time than, except for you. All right,
They can't talk.
all right, but, yeah.
All right, stand down.
They indicated that,
But you can, it depends, a view can be blocked depending on where you're standing, no matter what. But you go on the other side, or it's 10, from up top, it's not blocking anything, literally.
if you're,
I
if
would
you're
argue
standing,
against that.
if you're standing up,
View from the standard
no, they
spot.
can't talk.
Okay, you guys can't talk
gonna
right
be a-
now, so just,
Yeah, you can.
please.
I would argue that you can still see it. I was up there today.
Well, the Standish property's at elevation 30, and the top of this pier is at 15 minus 5, it's like at 10 or something that high, that point.
We're talking about the beach level.
Yeah, but you can't walk on the beach because it's all private property.
Not in the Standish line.
The Standish line is public property.
I thought the seawall went out to mean high water, so you
So for
can't.
that 100 feet, they're arguing, and I would argue the
But if
complete
you're,
opposite.
if you're standing down on the beach, then you can see underneath it,
Is it private?
Correct.
unless you're 7 feet tall.
I'll give you that.
That's one of the three things that I have an issue with, so,
Okay.
one of the three. So, the other two, I mean,
Well, that's why, I think that's why we were considering conditioning the approval to have the cable railing so it's less visually obstructive.
Yeah, well, I was considering adding stairs, a requirement that they be maintained,
Yep,
rollers to be rubberized,
okay.
steel cables, no wooden tops, absolutely no lighting,
Well, except for Christmas.
except for Christmas, right.
Yeah.
No runway, no anything.
You don't think that's reasonable, Tanya?
I think I would want to hear what the neighbors think about that.
Reopen the hearing then.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion to reopen the hearing?
Yes,
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye, Tanya.
I am it.
Hi, Freeman.
Okay, so hearing is reopened. I would like to know if you would be amenable to this design change, if we conditioned permit with that, those, and if you could just go to the microphone, please.
Christine Richmond, 18 Spring Street. I guess I have a problem with the dock going over the beach. Dan has a dock, and his never,
We know
was
that.
over the beach.
And it can't be built that way anymore.
It can't be.
Can't be.
And you can't walk on the beach anyways.
Yes, we can.
Technically, you can't. It's a private beach, for one.
Right. You have a lot of town people, especially during COVID, they discovered
Right.
our prized area. I mean, before, it really, I mean, when I grew up there, no one knew about it. It was our
Secret
playground.
beach, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and there are still couple of families still left that have grown up there. The girl I used to babysit for, now we're the same age, so she's in the house she grew up in. But, and her daughter is coming back to live in the neighborhood also. But I guess that's the biggest problem I have, that we do walk along the beach, and all these people still come with their dogs, with their little kids, and they love to walk the beach. And then there are people that come down, and kids from the school, that will come down and use the beach at high tide, or they're almost high tide. Sometimes there's a beach at high tide, other times there's not. And they use that beach right there in front of the lot, in front of the Miles Standish house site. And so, I mean, I guess we're just worried. I mean, we've got the big houses, we can't do anything about that, all the changes down there, but we'd love to preserve our beach. I mean, I walk it many, many days. I don't stop and sit on people's beaches, I walk, and I do, I walk the whole thing. Yeah, I see the Soren and his wife walking the beaches. The other man that was here, I see him with his wife walking, and I guess that's just it,
Thank you.
It seems to me, though, that if for that reason you would deny this pier, then nobody can have a pier.
I think this
I
is
would
a,
agree, I would agree to that.
I think this is a very different part of town. I think that the town is impacted very differently
All parts
here.
of town are different.
And I really don't think that they can access it the same when you have the pier there.
So I live in Powder Point.
Yep.
Okay? Behind my house, I go walking. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 or 8 of them. My wife and I, piers,
Walk underneath it.
going towards the bridge.
Are you on the south or north side of Powder Point?
North.
North.
North side, sorry. Marsh side, yes. So, my wife and I go for walks all the time. We go, what do? We go up the stairs, we get on the stairs. If the tide's really, we actually can't really go under it too much because we're walking on marsh and we'll be slipping away. We could if I wanted to walk in the marsh, but I'd prefer to go up and over. I have to do that 7 times to get to Myers Landing, and I go up and I walk. No big deal. I still walk the beach. I still have all of that. But you could say that they're if I look at it one end, if I'm sitting here, yeah, that's blocking the Duxbury Bridge. If I'm standing on one little area, but the view blocking really holds 0 water in my book.
That's only one of the things I have an issue with.
But that's your beach.
It's not my beach.
But no, but it's always been like that. It's a different.
It hasn't been. These piers are they haven't always been there. They've got in the last 10 years.
Blame Paul, he permitted most of them.
Madam Chair,
Anyway.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
it is now 9:41. I'm not sure if the Celtics are winning or losing or whatnot, but it's irrelevant. Okay. At this point in time, now that we've had questions after the initial closure of the hearing, and in defense of my client, I wish these questions came up during the open portion of the hearing. It's put us in a defensive position until the 2 gentlemen requested we reopen the hearing.
She
Hold
had
on.
a comment, not a question.
What question?
Well, she had
There
a
was no
question about
question.
906.22 about
No, it
the
wasn't a
seasonal
question.
use.
It wasn't a question.
That was
it's-
not a
it's her-
question. That was a comment.
There's about the view issue, and Emma kind of answered very easily and accurately. But if,
You want to continue it? Is that what you're thinking?
well, if, at this point in time, we have 4 members, and if we don't have 3, if we don't have 4 with the straw vote, then I'm incumbent upon a request a continuation for 2 weeks, request a site visit for those people that haven't seen it, and then let's take a
Good
look
point.
at it in its true perspective. That's just a suggestion.
I think that's a great
I'll
suggestion.
make that motion.
I'll second that
Wait,
motion.
I agree to one point, but he said he wants to do it in 2 weeks. I thought we didn't have 4 members in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we
No,
don't.
you can't.
you don't have 2 weeks either?
You're pushed.
So it's
You can now.
a 4-week period, two Thursday nights then. I thought it was just tonight.
We gotta look at the schedule. Give us a second.
No, it's all May.
And then you go on vacation in August.
Well, we could have,
Every August you
I
take
don't know
off.
about Wayne.
Yep.
Okay, so we would be what, early June? Second Thursday in June?
To be safe, I would. I'm not sure if
Which
Chairman Dennison will be here.
what's the date in June?
That will give us time to have a site visit too.
Yep.
June 13.
Are you gone?
I don't think I'm around. I'm going sailing.
Yeah. Oh, you're going.
Those are the options?
I mean,
And I'll verify that tomorrow, the dates, but I'm
We
pretty
could-
sure I'm,
try for the 23rd in hopes that Chairman Dennison will be available.
June
We
23rd?
definitely, absolutely do not have Judy and do not have Phil.
May 23rd.
Yes.
What about the second Thursday in June? Is that when you're out of town,
Make
Emma?
it for the 23rd, and we can continue it if we don't have 5.
Yeah, and we'll know beforehand.
We have a busy night that night now. That's fine.
Yeah.
And whatever is available for a site visit, everybody's invited, even though a site visit is not a decision-making meeting. It's just to look at it to observe the issues and to have questions, but obviously no decisions are made till you come back in here. the
But we
next
can't
night.
have an organized site visit unless we post it.
Correct.
No, we
Yeah,
can't do
that can be
that.
voted, yeah.
So
We can take
if board
independent
members go
visits.
on their own.
Go, but, yeah, 2 people can go.
We'd have to take the tide consideration into account too.
That's a good
Correct.
point, Boris, thank you.
But you can have,
Be there if you're busy that day.
What?
Oh,
you
okay.
can post a
What works
meeting
for
for the site
everybody?
visit. That's easy.
Emmett,
What?
tomorrow?
No, I need 48 hours to post it.
You can post a
Any,
meeting 48
any
hours
day
in
is
advance.
good for me.
How about
But-
next Tuesday?
It has to be early.
I know,
I gotta be in the
That's
office.
tight for me anyway,
6 o'clock?
sorry.
Or late.
What about Friday, May 17th?
Copycat,
Would
no
a
shit.
Friday be okay?
5:30?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
What day?
Friday, May 17th.
I'm gonna,
They have to post it.
so
We'll let you know.
I'm gone the 19th, my wife just texted.
I would not
Okay.
do that.
So the 18th
How
was
convenient.
17th,
7, so I'm here on the 17th.
or we could do a weekend, I mean, whatever you
No, I
guys
mean,
prefer,
for
what
the
works for
June
you.
thing, if this doesn't work out.
Oh, okay.
Just to do it at, 5 o'clock in the evening or something.
I'm looking tied right now.
Okay.
Dark.
For you?
9 o'clock in the evening?
5.
Oh, he said 9. I'm like, yeah, 5 would be
So
fine.
when, Tuesday?
What's the tide for May 17th, Friday?
Next Friday?
Yeah.
Hold on, it's,
I'm flexible.
Thursday, so 12, it's high at like, it'll be high at 7:30 in the morning, so.
At 7, 8 o'clock at night.
So that's coming in 7:30 at night, 8 o'clock, so at 5 o'clock, well, I mean,
Half tide or something.
doesn't, yeah. I don't really need a lot of tide. You're gonna be up there or you're gonna walk down the stairs. Tide doesn't matter to me.
Those tides are only 9 footers.
Sure, but in reality, the pier's gonna be there, high tide, low tide, and
Right, but if you want to see
I've seen it.
how it might block your view, you need to go down on the beach where everyone does go down.
Right, I was down on the beach today with his picture.
I was down there,
I was,
I was down there at 6 a.m.
okay.
Okay, so what time on the 17th?
Okay, the 7th.
Emma, what time's good for you? Work
For,
wise?
The
For
site visit.
oh, when is the 17th?
Friday,
Friday,
May
next Friday.
17th. Okay.
Oh, next Friday?
Yeah.
I've seen it, I don't have to be there, I'm not gonna be around
Okay,
on the 17th.
4, 5,
That's a Friday.
I know.
okay,
That's why I don't say 7.
okay.
At night?
You want to do 4? Or 5?
Whatever you like, whatever, I don't care.
Okay,
We,
let's
work
do,
here,
let's,
so-
let's do
Homeowner
5.
gonna be around, Paul? Homeowner gonna be around?
5 a.m.?
5 PM.
why would we wait till next Friday?
I'll meet you there.
Okay, so 5 PM on Friday, May 17th will be the site visit, and Lauren will post it.
Should we meet at the Standish Cellar Hole?
I don't know, those stairs are pretty treacherous. The last step is like this.
Can we meet at the property? Do they have a
And then
stairway
jump
there?
and- Yeah, but it is treacherous.
Paul, can we meet at the property and use the stairs there? Can we meet at the property? Okay,
Yeah, that would be great.
all right,
How do walkers get down on the beach?
5 o'clock next Friday?
yes.
If you're
5
old and
o'clock next
decrepit, you're not
Friday.
going down those stairs.
Posted
I'll tell you that right now.
Tuesday.
If the meeting's still open, I have one
Shall we,
quick question.
shall we close or
Continue.
continue this
We're gonna
hearing
continue it,
to
yep.
the,
To when, to when?
May 23rd?
Motion to continue the,
I have a 30-second question. Procedural.
Killing me.
Go
okay.
ahead.
When will this site visit be posted or notified?
No,
Yes.
Yes, it
Yes.
will
Yes.
be.
no,
Where?
It's a legal meeting.
no, it's not.
They want to post it.
Site visit.
Yeah.
Can't
more than the
deliberate.
majority come
If it's a
There's
posted
no
meeting, you can
discussion.
chat.
Yeah, but
No.
you're not gonna be there.
We
so
can't
you don't have a
deliberate at a
quorum.
site
Yeah, yeah,
visit.
so it's not even, it can't be posted. We won't even have a quorum.
You don't have to post it then.
Correct.
But
Right.
3 people, don't make 3 people show up.
I'm not gonna be there. These two and Boris won't be.
Boris
All
won't
right,
be
so we'll
either?
just nominate
It's always on the wall.
Freeman and Tanya.
No, it's a site visit.
My next-
We don't have,
We don't have,
there is not gonna be any discussion at the site visit.
Right.
We don't,
So then we don't need to post it.
Correct.
One more
You're not
procedural.
gonna have a quorum anyway.
If there's no
Yes,
quorum,
we are gonna have a quorum.
well,
Oh,
then
you
it
are?
needs to be posted.
Tanya, me, and Boris.
Posted anyways.
Oh,
God.
three's not a quorum, is it?
Can
Okay.
Boris make
think
4
4 is-
o'clock on
So-
that Friday, Boris?
Madam
o'clock.
Chair,
This
yeah.
whole thing's out of order.
Now-
Don't have a gavel.
Oh my God, this is,
I'm gonna,
They go
I'm
over
gonna
private
post
property.
it with a site visit with a proper agenda for Friday, May 17th at 5 PM, should a quorum
Okay.
happen to show
oh, there you
up.
go, so you're
Thank you.
CYA and.
Yeah,
Either way,
perfect.
the board cannot discuss, they can't speak with anyone, they can't deliberate. It's
Correct.
simply to view.
Okay.
And then when we open the hearing again, potentially on the 23rd, that's when discussions and discoveries can be discussed.
So we could, so if these folks might possibly be there and they shouldn't even be talking, is that what you're saying?
They can
To you
talk
guys.
amongst themselves.
Not to us, though.
Just not to us, yeah.
Right,
Right, that's
No
open,
questions.
well, yeah, but
open meeting law that you.
what else are we gonna talk about?
I have one more quick procedural question.
All right, very quick.
Board. When you do,
Site visit?
special permit,
Oh.
When we issue it.
is there a
vote on it.
90-day period where it gets,
Once the board has 90 days to write the decision,
yeah?
and it's anywhere from 2 weeks to 90 days. And then there's a 20-day appeal period that anybody can appeal it to the Supreme Court or the or the,
It's
yeah, just a company.
the Superior Court.
That was my question.
So, and it's from the date that it's filed with the town clerk.
So
not
my
the-
question is,
yeah.
that 90-day period is not, that's the maximum. It could happen in
Correct.
Yeah.
two.
Could be shorter.
And then
Yep.
when does the 20-day appeal period?
After it's filed with the town clerk.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
And
when the
the-
clock starts ticking for the appeal
This
period.
is not for me. I'm not opposing the pier because I have a pier. I'm just saying this for the people who are here.
Those who want to
There's a
support their
20-day
local-
appeal period
Yeah.
after the decision
Is filed with the town
for
clerk.
the special permit. Where does that appeal go to? Who do you appeal to?
Well, you're-
So
Supreme Court.
it goes to
Supreme
this,
Court.
no, not the Supreme Court.
They appeal it to
Superior
Jim first,
Court.
don't they?
No.
No, it goes directly to the Superior Court.
difference, in my opinion,
Or the land
between
court,
Supreme
actually.
Court
really?
Yeah, either one.
Was this spelled?
Curious.
Yeah.
Right.
Abutters within 300 feet that receive the hearing notice also receive a decision notice. So once the decision's stamped with the clerk, those abutters are notified.
Okay. That was I'm done.
Did we make a motion?
Thank you. All right,
Did we
so,
make a motion?
not yet. To continue the hearing, would somebody like to make a motion to continue the hearing till May
May
23rd?
I move to continue the public hearing to May, is it May 23rd?
Yep.
May 23rd at 7:30?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Tanya.
Boris.
Ruben, aye?
Freeman, aye, yep.
Okay, all right, so continue till May 23rd. Excuse me?
Thank you.
No,
No. Nobody did, I did.
we had one who didn't like it, so.
No, right, yeah, Tanya and I did it.
Yep.
Yeah, and blame me.
No, there's no,
I guess Paul really
Okay, so that's
know
it
what the
for
rest of
you
us-
guys.
I have one set of meeting
One set of
minutes.
meeting minutes. Would somebody like to move to?
The meeting minutes from April 25th, 2024.
Excuse me, if you guys need to talk, could you just go out
I
into
thought
the
they were
hall, please?
terrific. I would motion to approve the
Thank
minutes
you.
from.
I thought on page 2, you forgot to dot an I.
I couldn't hear what she said. And second that, Freeman?
Second.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Hi, Tanya.
I am.
Okay,
Were there any more?
no, that's it.
I'll
So we
make a
can
motion to go home.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
See you, Paul.
Have a good one.
All right, meeting is adjourned.
Night, Boris.
Everybody,